Hello everybody and welcome to Cautious Hero episode 3 anime review. We had a week off last week, which is not a good sign because I don't think it was due to a change in programming. I think it was due to production delays, I think I read somewhere, which is a little bit concerning to say the least. But this episode, it was more of the same. It was more funniness. There was the beat up an old man. He wasn't that old, but we'll call him an old man. They poured water on an old man. He actually was an old man. That part was funny. I approved of that. But yeah, it is just more of the same, and honestly, it does feel weird we had a week off, but hopefully everything's alright behind the scenes. I'm still enjoying the show. It's kind of been stunted because of the week off. Hopefully they don't do something stupid like have a recap episode halfway through. Please don't do that. Anyway, yeah, let's crack on with the episode and see what happened and everything. And yeah, let's do that, and we'll talk about it as it happens and all that. Let's do this. Episode begins our dynamic duo, as they shall be now known. Back in the God realm, Seiya's doing his push-ups and his arm press-ups and his leg press-ups and all the other exercise. I just watched Dumbbells the other season, so I should know my exercises by now. Shows how much of a failure I am at listening. So, what's her name? Rista is talking to her friend. Her friend's name is, I wrote it down somewhere, oh man, Arya. Her name's Arya. Arya gets so sad because she's talking about the time she couldn't save one world, and it's like, oh yeah, kind of sucks. Don't really go too much into detail about it, so I'm assuming we'll hear more about that later on. Especially because when Seiya shows up, she like drops her cup in shock. So maybe she knows Seiya from somewhere. Maybe Seiya hopped worlds or something. Maybe he's just another legendary hero. I don't know. But she seemed to know Seiya, unless I'm completely overthinking it. And Rista might have been right, Maybe she did fall for his rugged good looks and his angry, scowly face. But anyway, reason he's there, he's hit a level wall doing his press-ups, wanted to get some new equipment. Rista's like, no, let's have a god train you instead. I think actually Arya was the one that suggested that. So they go to the god. His name is Circeus. I think it's Circeus. And he's like, my training's intense. And Seiya's like, cool with that. And they have a little spar, and he's matching him evenly. And he's like, I shall take you upon my training regimen, young Padawan. And then they get to training. We have a brief little, I don't know what to call this. Within a few days, basically, we see Circeus' deteriorating mental state. Easy for me to say. Rista keeps running into him at lunch. What do gods and goddesses do when they're not in the other world? Like, what's their actual job? Do they do paperwork? I mean, she had paperwork. I'm assuming they've just been doing paperwork. But yeah, it turns out Seiya's been beating him every time, and the training isn't really training. It's more of it's punching bag. Rista, like, later on finds him cowering behind some foodies, just some foods. But basically, Seiya's the one who's in charge of the training. He's forcing him to train without breaks. We're going to keep going till you drop and all that, which is not good. Seiya shows up to come get him, and in anger he throws his sword away. He's completely ruined his identity. His sword, divine sword, I think was his nickname bit. Completely threw it all away because Seiya has ruined him. That's Seiya, you madman. Arya comes to get Rista, and she reports what's going on to Ishtar, who is an old woman, which is very different from the Ishtar in Fate Go. So I'm glad that we've got two characters of the same name in the same season. It actually won't be confusing, but it's kind of weird. See, learned that Circeus used to be human from her, and basically then tells her, hey, you got to go sort out your world, go back to the next town. So she goes to grab Seiya, and he's pummeled. It's not training. He's like mounted him like a UFC or whatever. Bang, 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 bang into his face. So she stops him before he kills him or ruins his pride, and he does his I am perfectly prepared, perfecto, or whatever he says. I don't remember. And then she's like, okay, apologize first. You've turned this man into a puddle of mush that used to be a man. Please do something about that, Seiya. I do hope at some point he gets more personality other than just he overly prepares for everything. But I know it's a comedy, so he doesn't really need to. But I do hope he gets something. Like the inner me is like, Hopefully there's more to him. But at the moment, he's still funny. It's weird to remember we're only on episode 3 because the break has thrown me. The break has thrown me off my game, I will be honest. Speaking of a break, after the break, they are back in the world. I forget the name of it. Gaia Brand. I do remember it. See, I learned some things. People are evacuating the nearby town because they're like, hey, undead army's approaching. We're not going to be able to do that. So then they go to the shop and they're like, I want to buy 1,000 holy waters. And the shopkeeper's like, I don't have that many holy waters, my good sir. I can sell you one. And he's like, alright. He probably sold him a couple actually because later on, yeah, I'll sell you a few, buy some holy water, that's good. Go to the church, they get some allies, a Shota and a Lolly. His Shota little boy, I don't know. They're apparently dragon people. Reminds me of that, there was a Fire Emblem game where there was like some dragon siblings. Worked out really well for them in that Fire Emblem game. I don't remember which game it was, so don't question me. But yeah, dragon kids. Seiya then holy waters the priest. Turns out the priest was a bad guy the whole time. He was undead. It actually worked out in his favour. This is the thing that I think it's going to do in this show, where it's going to look like he's being ridiculously overcautious, but then he's going to save himself a load of trouble, and it's actually going to work out. And I do like that. That's quite a funny way of doing it. His reasoning, I guess, after he slices up him a little bit, which, we don't even see him do it because budget cuts. I know it's not actually budget cuts, but that's what I'm going to say, because they don't have to animate it because he moves so fast. That's what I'm going to go with. I have no evidence to support that. His reasoning was like, sooner or later this man's going to be undead because he's the oldest, and I'm like, doesn't really check out, but fine, I'll believe you. Dude says, hey, 10,000 undead are going to be here by morning. And he's like, thank you, I got the information. Seiya blows him up, of course, doing a ridiculous thing, burns the church down. The sister is distraught. She faints. She's so distraught. The kids are called, I wrote the name down, Elulu and Mash. Mash, another character from the Fate Go this season. So that's a weird coincidence. That's a really weird coincidence. We've got two same names across two different shows in the same season. That is actually quite a coincidence. I know it's a coincidence. I'm not going to start a conspiracy theory. God, there are better channels of that could start crazy conspiracy theories. But anyway, they're the party members. He holy waters them as well, including Rista and the unconscious sister. That was quite funny. That made me laugh. Jesus, I was like, when he did the sister, I was like, okay, that's quite funny. Rista as well, actually, because it's like, you've been with her the whole time. Would have been even funnier if they were all demons, or not demons, undead. And he was like, oh crap, they're taken over the goddess realm or whatever. Anyway, they then use the Vegeta power scanner thing on the kids, and they suck. They're not very strong. Then Seiya afterwards, she's like, hey, they'll get stronger, and Seiya's like, don't even need them though. Nah man, don't need him. I can do this myself. He turns into a 16-year-old boy. It's like, nah man, don't need no help. I'm alone. Nobody can understand me and all that other good stuff. We've all been edgy teenagers, I understand. Unless you're not an edgy teenager yet, in which case you've got that to look forward to. So have fun being an edgy teenager. That was the end of the episode. Oh, not quite actually. One more thing. The ending, right? The credit. Why is she? Oh, it's bad CG dancing. It barely looks like her. Like, I get it does, but it doesn't. It doesn't really look like her. It just occurred to me, because while this episode was late, by the way, I don't even know if I mentioned that, the Funimation was like 3 hours late putting it up, which is always a good sign. But yeah, I am bloody. Hopefully next week they go back to normal, because Jesus, I was waiting for 2, 3, 2.5, at least 2.5. Wait, math. At least I think it was 2.5 hours late, which with no explanation. So what can you do? I'm sure they probably tweeted and I didn't see it. But yeah, good episode. I've rambled a bit at the end. Don't do the bad CG ending. Hopefully that's a placeholder. I don't think it is, because last week, because I've rewatched the end of last week's episode, because it's a trick you can do where it's not showing up, but then it will just go to the next step. Long story. But yeah, last week's didn't have a credits animation. Maybe that's the thing that got it delayed. Maybe they needed more time to just finish things like that. Or I'm not too sure though. But anyway, yeah. Excited to see where it goes. I assume next week we're going to fight the 10,000 undead or whatever. and they're going to get demolished, and the kids can be like, whoa, look at that, that's cool. Hopefully they do something more, because at the moment they are just like completely unnecessary side characters at the moment. Like, hopefully they do something with them. But here's hoping. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, consider subscribing and liking and commenting and all the other good stuff that they do on the YouTube these days. I will see you next week for another episode of this thing, Cautious Hero that is, and bye guys.